Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Stamperia Blue Dream mini album tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. In this video, we're going to begin building page 5 of the gatefold mini album, starting with the front and then moving on to the back side. Starting with the front of page 5, I'm going to be using this image as my main focal point for my page. Just like we did on one of the previous pages though, I'm going to make this image the front of a flap, and then on the back, I'm going to have this be in a frame. So we're going to cut some pieces and get started. I need to cut 2 pieces that measure 6 inches by 6 inches. This is going to be for our front and back of our frame. No scoring is needed on those pieces. Then I'm going to cut 1 piece that measures 1 3/8 by 5 inches. Placing the 1 3/8 inch side across the scoreboard, I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch on the right hand side. Next, I have a piece that measures 1 5/8 of an inch by 5 inches. I'm going to score this one on the 1 5/8 inch side at 1/2 inch on the left hand side of this piece. And then I need to cut 1 piece that measures 7 inches by 7 inches, no scoring needed. Next, I need to cut out my frames for my 6-inch pieces. I'm going to cut them at 3/8 of an inch, just like I did previously. I'm going to cut both of them at once. If you do not feel comfortable doing this together, do them separately. So I am going to put this in here at 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to go to 5 5/8 of an inch. Turning this, putting this back in at 3/8 of an inch. And going to 5 5/8 of an inch. And I'll repeat that with the other 2 sides to complete my frames. And now I have my 2 frame pieces. For the next step, I need to have 1 piece of acetate cut to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I'll be using my 1/4 inch double-sided tape to put this together. The first thing you want to do is adhere your cut apart card to the front of one of your frames, just like we did on the previous one, making sure you're only putting a little bit of adhesive around your outside edges and placing this down. Next, we're going to take the 1 3/8 inch piece, fold back on that score line, and burnish this down. This is going to be adhered to the center on the left or on the right hand side of the 7-inch flap. So I'm going to find the center of this, place my marks, and then place my adhesive on my 1/2 inch tab section. And adhere this to that right hand side, just on the edge. Now this frame is going to be adhered here, just so that the frame and the side are lined up. So I'm going to put the frame down first, then I'm going to close this on top of it, And this is where this piece is going to go. Then we're going to build up the rest of this piece and we'll put the front on last. So I'm going to mark this here and place my adhesive on my frame. And now we want to make sure that this piece, this frame, is also centered on the page. So it should be 1/2 inch from each side and 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom. So once that piece is on, we're going to go ahead and burnish that down. I'm going to erase this just so that it's not visible. And now I'm going to take my double-sided tape and place this around my frame. And I'll place my acetate on here. Once I have my double-sided tape on, I'm going to go ahead and lift up on the 4 corners just so that I can get this started, and then I'll place my acetate piece just like we did in the previous videos. So I'm going to line this up so that everything is covered. Once I have it in position, I'll press it down into those pieces that are already lifted up and then remove all 4 of those background pieces and adhere this down. Next, I need to decide whether I want this to be a top loading or a side loading pocket. I'm going to make mine a top loading pocket, so I'm going to take my double-sided tape, starting with my sides. I'm going to place my adhesive along my sides and my bottom, but none across the top. Next, I'm going to peel back just the corners on these pieces, just like before. And then taking my other piece, I'm going to line everything up. Make sure everything is straight. Excuse my head, I have to make sure it's all straight there. And then press down on those 3 corners. Then pull your tabs from your strips and burnish all 3 sides of the pocket. So now I have my picture on the front. This opens here. There's a pocket for the photo to slide in, opening at the top. Next, we're going to take our 1 5/8 inch piece, bend back on our tab on that score line and burnish that. Now bringing in the front of our page, this is going to be centered on the left-hand side of the page. Once you have those piece is marked, you're going to add your adhesive on the 1/2 inch tab on this little tiny section and adhere it to the left edge of the page, just between those marks, so that it's centered on the page. And then we're going to take this piece, I'm going to erase these just like I did on the last piece. We're going to take this and place this right in the center. So we need to make sure that the entire piece is centered on the page. And once I have this, I'm just going to mark all 4 corners. That way I know very quickly where to place this piece. I'm going to draw a line down the side of my page. This is where I'm going to place my adhesive to adhere that piece to the front. So adding my adhesive on just that right-hand side, taking the whole piece and lining it up, placing it down so it's in the center of the page, and then burnish. So now we have our smaller flap and our larger flap, and this is it for the front of the page. So next we are going to move on to the back of page 5. The back side of page 5 is going to be inspired by this paper here. So I'm going to have a pocket here with this image. I'm going to cut this and have a flap here and here. And then I'm going to take one of my graphic 45 tags and put it in here as a closure to hold those pockets down. The first piece you'll need to cut is 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. On the 4 1/4 inch side, we are going to score on the right-hand side at 1/2 inch. Then we're going to cut a piece that measures 4 1/2 by 2 3/4. On the 2 3/4 inch side at the bottom, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. We're going to cut a piece to 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. On the 6 1/2 inch side, we're going to score at the top at 1/2 inch. Next, I'm going to use my bone folder to fold on all of these score lines to get them ready to apply to my page. So I have my top flap for the left-hand side, my bottom flap for the left-hand side, and then this largest one is going to be the pocket that's going to be on the right side of the page. I'm going to start with my pocket first, adding my adhesive to my 1/2 inch tab section on this piece. And then I'll apply my score line to the side of the page, lining the edge up with the side of the page and then making sure it's straight across the top and bottom, and then burnish. Now I'm going to leave my note to myself to turn that into a pocket. Then I'm going to bring my small flap in first, place it down here on the page and make sure that it is the right size. Mine is, so I don't need to trim anything. If anything's overlapping, make sure you trim the pocket on the side so that it does fit right next to that larger flap, but not overlapping it. So I've got my adhesive on here, and I'm going to place this on the bottom part of the page, lining it up with the bottom, the left-hand side, and then making sure that my flap closes and there's no overlap. Next, I'm going to take my final flap, add my adhesive. Before I do this, I need to check first. I forgot, I need to check and make sure it is going to sit flush. It is going to, so I'm lucky there. So I need to make sure that this sits at the top of the page. It will overlap my pocket down at the bottom, or my flap down at the bottom, just slightly, and that is okay. We just don't want it to overlap the other flap on the side of our page. And so now I have my two flaps here, and this will be my pocket. So this is the back of page 5, and we have completed the entire build for page 5. In the next video, we are going to construct page 6. It's actually going to be a repeat of page 3, so very simple, that pocket page. It'll be very quick and easy to put together. If you are new to the tutorial series, don't forget to check out the description box below where all of the links are for the products that we're using from the Scrap and Create website.